I took a look around and I thought, the next time I see this place, I will have completed the Last Supper in the Garden of Gethsemane. And I was overwhelmed with emotion. I was like...
Do you remember the first time Jonathan Roumie appeared on screen as Jesus in The Chosen?
I don't think it can work like that for me. When you're on this journey to get closer to God in every aspect.
For millions, it wasn't just an actor playing a role. It felt like something sacred. By 2025, Jonathan has become the most recognizable face in modern faith-based entertainment. But that recognition carries a burden very few could shoulder. Before The Chosen, Roumie's career was fragile. He had been scraping by with commercials, voice work, and bit parts. He once admitted that he was so broke, he prayed desperately for help. And the very next day came the call that changed his life. Many fans saw it as divine providence, but what looked like a blessing also meant the end of anonymity. Almost overnight, fans lined up for hours to meet him. Some wept at his presence, others begged for blessings, and many even confessed sins to him as if he were the real Messiah. It was touching, but also overwhelming. Roumie himself has said that he constantly reminds both his audience and himself, "I'm an actor, not the savior." The fame has brought scrutiny as well. Some critics accuse him of leaning into religious celebrity, while others in Hollywood whisper that he's too faith-based for mainstream roles. It's the same trap Jim Caviezel fell into after The Passion of the Christ. Roumie walks that tightrope daily, beloved by Christian audiences, yet boxed in by the industry. By 2025, he is busier than ever, filming new seasons, headlining faith rallies for tens of thousands, and even speaking at the Vatican. But friends say the wait shows. He admits that without constant prayer, he feels lost. The role has given him purpose, but also exhaustion. And the question fans whisper is haunting. How long can Jonathan Roumie keep carrying a role that demands more than any man can give? If Jonathan Roumie became the face of The Chosen, then Shahar Isaac became its fire. His portrayal of Simon Peter, raw, impulsive, fiercely human, has been one of the most unforgettable parts of the series. Yet off-screen, Shahar lives almost the opposite of Peter's loud, stormy life. Unlike Roumie, who embraces the stage, Shahar avoids it. He rarely gives interviews, almost never appears at fan events, and keeps his personal life completely hidden. In an era where most actors flood social media with curated content, Shahar quietly posts photography and art, offering glimpses of beauty instead of self-promotion. It's a decision that makes him stand out, but also keeps him in the shadows. Before The Chosen, Shahar had a modest career in theater and small TV roles. Fame was not something he chased, and yet suddenly, his face as Simon Peter was known in over 100 countries. From Brazil to South Korea, audiences recognized him as the fisherman who dropped everything to follow Jesus. For Shahar, it was both a blessing and a disruption. Industry insiders say his refusal to play Hollywood's publicity game, press tours, social media hype, red carpets, makes him harder to cast. Directors often want actors who will sell projects, not disappear once the cameras stop rolling. Shahar's silence, while refreshing to fans, has slowed his opportunities outside The Chosen. And yet, fans who meet him in rare appearances describe him as deeply thoughtful, polite, and reserved. Then, when the cameras roll, he transforms into Peter, bold, reckless, alive. It's almost as if he saves all his fire for the screen and shields his private self from the consuming flames of fame. But here's the twist. As The Chosen expands and Shahar's Peter becomes more central, the question grows. Can a man so determined to stay hidden continue to carry a role that demands being seen by millions? When Elizabeth Tabish first appeared as Mary Magdalene in The Chosen, audiences were stunned. The pain in her eyes, the trembling voice, the relief when Jesus called her by name. It felt too real to be acting. And in many ways, it wasn't. Before The Chosen, Elizabeth's story looked eerily like Mary's. She had trained in acting for years, but the roles never came. Rejections piled up, bills mounted, and depression settled deeper into her life. She later admitted she was ready to quit acting altogether when the audition came along. "I didn't think I'd get it," she confessed. But she did, and the role became her lifeline. Elizabeth has said that portraying Mary forced her to face her own demons. Those moments where Mary doubts her worth, collapses under despair, or questions whether she is truly loved weren't just lines. They were echoes of her own struggles. Fans saw authenticity, but what they didn't always realize was that Elizabeth was being healed through the role even as she played it. The show's success made her a symbol of redemption. Fans approached her in airports crying, thanking her for showing that brokenness could be redeemed. Churches invited her to speak, and she became a beacon for those dealing with depression and trauma. Yet fame didn't erase the struggle. Elizabeth has continued to speak openly about her battles with mental health, saying in 2023, "I still fight the darkness, but Mary's story reminds me I'm not defined by it." Now, in 2025, Elizabeth balances acting with advocacy. She paints, writes, directs, and uses her platform to shine light on mental health, especially for women who feel discarded by Hollywood. But here's the catch. While her performance has saved lives, Elizabeth admits she's still learning to save her own. And that leaves us wondering, can someone who embodies redemption on screen continue carrying that same hope for herself in real life? When The Chosen introduced Matthew, viewers were caught off guard. He wasn't the bold, confident disciple they expected. Instead, he was meticulous, socially anxious, and painfully different. Yet over time, Matthew became one of the most beloved characters, and Patel, the man behind the role, found himself carrying a weight far bigger than he anticipated. For Paras, the role was personal. As a South Asian actor, he had spent years battling Hollywood's typecasting. The same roles came again and again, background characters, comic relief, or tech support. Rarely anything meaningful. When The Chosen offered him Matthew, an outsider rejected by his own people, it struck a chord. "I knew what it was like to be looked at as different," Paras once admitted. That empathy fueled his performance, making Matthew's awkward brilliance unforgettable. Audiences worldwide embraced him. Letters poured in from fans who connected with Matthew's quirks. Many even said his portrayal helped them accept their own struggles with autism or social anxiety. But with recognition came new struggles. Typecasting didn't vanish. It just shifted. Now, casting directors saw Paras only as the Matthew guy. Hollywood, still lagging in real diversity, often struggled to place him in roles beyond stereotypes. By 2025, Paras has stayed deeply tied to The Chosen, but he hasn't stood still. He's ventured into independent films, experimenting with storytelling behind the camera. He's become an advocate for authentic representation, insisting that minorities deserve roles that show them as fully human, not caricatures. His words carry weight. What makes us different isn't a weakness. It's often our greatest strength. Still, here's the lingering tension. While fans see him as a symbol of belonging, the industry remains slow to catch up. The question is, can Paras break free of Matthew's shadow? Or will Hollywood continue to box him in just as Matthew was boxed in by his own people? When little James first limped across the screen in The Chosen, many assumed it was just a creative detail. But it wasn't fiction. It was Jordan Walker Ross's reality. Born with cerebral palsy and scoliosis, Jordan spent most of his life being told he didn't fit Hollywood's mold. Casting directors dismissed him, saying his limp made him unmarketable. For years, rejection piled up until acting felt like a dream slipping away. Then came The Chosen. Creator Dallas Jenkins made a daring decision. Instead of hiding Jordan's disability, he wove it into the story. Suddenly, James wasn't just another disciple. He became the disciple who carried a wound that even Jesus didn't heal. One of the most powerful moments of the series came when James asked, "Why me? Why send me to heal others when I remain unhealed?" That scene wasn't just acting. It was Jordan's own lifelong question, spoken aloud to millions. Fans were undone. Letters poured in from people with disabilities, chronic pain, or silent struggles, thanking Jordan for showing that imperfection doesn't exclude you from being chosen. For Jordan, it was healing too. After decades of hiding, his limp had become his testimony. But with recognition came a new burden. Hollywood still hasn't changed much. Roles for disabled actors remain scarce, and outside of The Chosen, Jordan continues to face doors that remain closed. At the same time, his influence has grown beyond acting. His podcast, What's Your Limp?, gives others a platform to share hidden struggles, whether physical or emotional. He's become a sought-after speaker in schools, churches, and conferences, turning his pain into purpose. As of 2025, Jordan remains with The Chosen, but his mission has expanded. His limp, once a source of shame, has become the very thing that connects him to thousands. And yet, the question lingers, will Hollywood finally recognize his talent beyond his disability? Or will his greatest stage always remain tied to the role of Little James? The cast of The Chosen didn't just play disciples. They've lived with the weight of their roles long after the cameras stopped. Fame, faith, pressure, doubt. Every story carries both triumph and cost. And maybe that's why their journeys matter, because like the disciples themselves, they show us that being chosen is never easy, it's transformative. So now the question is, whose story moved you most? Jonathan's burden, Shahar's silence, Elizabeth's redemption, Paraz's search for belonging, or Jordan's unhealed miracle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And if this journey inspired you, hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more stories that dive beyond the screen.